through the 24 hours of each day, aircraft of the Royal Air Force, in cooperation with the Dominion and Allied air forces, are attacking Hitler's fortress of Europe. On aerodromes all over Britain during the hours of daylight, bombers and crews of the 2nd Tactical Air Force are preparing to take off and strike blows in the pre-invasion softening up of occupied territory. As darkness falls, the engines of the heavy bombers of Bomber Command start up to complete the non-stop offensive, which the Royal Air Force is carrying out with devastating effect. Targets which must be attacked and destroyed before the Allied armies can set foot in Western Europe are scattered over a vast area and affect the whole Nazi military machine. Defenses of every kind, special anti-invasion weapons, big coastal batteries, gun sites and shore defenses, E-boat pens and hideouts, railway centers, engine repair shops and rolling stock, industry of every kind which helps to arm the German forces. These are the targets which are being destroyed so as to paralyze them our invading forces. And so all day and all night, aircraft of the Allied air forces are in the air carrying out this vital work. It is the purpose of this film to place on record the part played by the bombers of the Royal Air Force in this offensive, the beginning of the Second Front. We are destroying the Nazi defenses, special anti-invasion weapons, gun sites, E-boat pens and hideouts, defenses which Hitler has been building and strengthening the length of the Atlantic Wall. The German anti-invasion weapons are well concealed and hard to locate, but the Royal Air Force is seeking them out wherever they may be and smashing them one by one. The coasts themselves are certainly well defended by gun sites and E-boats, with which Hitler hopes to interfere with our landing operations. These targets are being subjected to a relentless bombing. are destroying the railway centers, engine repair shops, and rolling stock, and so hindering the movement of German troops and supplies. Hitler will have to rely on the network of railways in occupied Europe to move troops and supplies rapidly to wherever our forces attack. It is the aim of the Allied air forces to see that the railways cannot carry the peak load for the Germans to repel our invasion. And so we bomb them. It is estimated that already Hitler has had to withdraw 50,000 skilled railwaymen from Germany to end the chaos on the French and Belgian railways caused by Allied attacks. We are destroying the sources in occupied Europe of Hitler's armaments. Factories making aero engines and aircraft parts, so vital to Goering's Luftwaffe. Powder factories and ammunition dumps for the German forces. Rubber works providing the much-needed rubber for the Nazi mechanized divisions. Through the bombing of Germany, Hitler has been forced to use armament factories in occupied territory, and so the Royal Air Force seeks them out wherever they may be, marks them and bombs them at night with deadly precision. In the daytime, power stations supplying electricity for factories and railways, steel works and locomotive works. This list can have no end until the Germans give in. This air assault by the Royal Air Force, in close cooperation with the Dominion and Allied air forces, is an ever-growing headache for Hitler, and the fury of these air blows will increase until the day that the liberating forces of the United Nations destroy for all time the tyranny which has blooded Europe for more than 10 years. One of the reasons why we were able to gain a tactical surprise over the enemy when we landed in Normandy on June 6 was that his radar stations had been the object of determined attacks by our fighter bombers and rocket-firing Typhoons. Our Typhoons flew more than 1,600 sorties, firing over 4,500 60-pound rockets. The German Air Force was conspicuous by its absence during the days following our landing in Normandy. And for this we must thank the squadrons of Fighter Command, who kept up a non-stop watch over the beaches and convoys. Between June 6 and June 12, 10,000 sorties were flown. By D+4, the first landing strip was available to our fighters for refueling and emergency landings. The enemy's attempts to interfere with our shipping were frustrated by the vigilance of Coastal Command. On June 9, a destroyer on its way to attack Allied cross-channel shipping was driven aground by the Navy off the Ile de Bats and then attacked by 24 Beaufighters of Coastal Command with rockets and bombs. On July 6, 41 Beaufighters of Coastal Command with torpedoes, rockets and cannons attacked a convoy of 8 merchant vessels with 11 escort ships off the Frisian Islands. 1 merchant vessel was hit by a torpedo, 1 was set on fire by rockets, and 4 escort vessels were left burning. On June 10, 72 Mitchells of No. 2 Group, each carrying 8 500-pound bombs, attacked enemy troops and headquarters at La Cane. The bombing was accurate, and it is known that a general and 13 of his staff were killed. There was no flak. On June 12, 24 Bostons and 72 Mitchells of No. 2 Group bombed enemy troop concentrations and ammunition dumps in the forest of Grimbosque. Bombing was good, and enemy transport was forced to evacuate the wood. Accurate heavy flak met the bombers. Attack on June 14 by Mitchells and Bostons of No. 2 Group on petrol dumps at Con-sur-Vire, a large explosion was observed in the target area. On the night of June 14-15, Bomber Command Lancasters made 2 attacks on the port area of Le Havre, dropping more than 1,200 tons of bombs, including some 12,000-pounders. The object of the attack was to destroy U-boats and other craft which were operating against our beachhead. Much shipping was destroyed and the harbor installations damaged. On June 17, Mitchells and Bostons of No. 2 Group carried out an attack on the marshalling yards at Mézidon, through which the enemy was bringing supplies and troops to the Normandy front. Bombing was very accurate on the aiming point, and many large explosions were seen. Much permanent way was destroyed or damaged, and accurate heavy flak was encountered by our bombers. Attack on June 22 on the old steelworks at Caen, which the enemy were using as a strong point, Mitchells and Bostons of No. 2 Group carried out some of the most accurate bombing of the war. The attack was carried out at the request of the army, and direct hits were scored on the aiming point. Intense and accurate heavy flak met the bombers. July 18, 1,056 aircraft of Bomber Command attacked enemy troop concentrations in the Caen area in 5 waves, dropping over 5,000 tons of bombs in great concentration. The attack was carried out from between 6,000 and 10,000 feet and resulted in our troops being able to advance almost immediately afterwards. chief signal store for the German Air Force in France at Saint-Cyr, was attacked on July 25 by Lancasters of Bomber Command. This target had been attacked before, but repairs had been made, and the works moved to the military college, which was the main object of this attack. On July 28, Lancasters and Halifax's of Bomber Command attacked enemy troop concentrations in the Ville-Bocage-Kermont-Jourc area to enable our troops to move forward in alignment with the Americans. To destroy rail facilities and stop traffic in the marshalling yards at Joigny-la-Roche, Lancasters of Bomber Command attacked on July 31 with good results. Between December 5, 1943 and the end of September 1944, Bomber Command dispatched more than 16,000 aircraft in their offensive against the flying bomb, dropping nearly 100,000 tons of bombs. The targets were often well camouflaged and difficult to find, and so accurate ground marking was necessary. On August 5, Lancasters and Halifax's of Bomber Command dropped more than 2,200 tons on a flying bomb supply depot at Saint-Leu-d'Esserand. Very heavy cratering of the area resulted, with roads blocked and the railway destroyed. The caves at this depot collapsed after further attacks. Great work in defending this country against the flying bomb was done by our fighters, which in the months of June, July, August and September destroyed more than 1,900, like this.